You have betrayed our nation and destroyed its people.
I pray for your end and ask the Lord to forgive you.
Tyrant.
Should we investigate?
Should you shut the up before you get us both killed?
Actually, I was about to say, in that case, if it's so inevitable he's going to lose, why go down this route of really overinflating a state misdemeanor about a fling 20 years ago and then a bit of paper shuffling? Why do that with all the potential fallout and blowback? You've already seen Trump's raised $200 million since these verdicts came in. That can only help him. I just don't understand why Democrats would do that. Now, Benny, let me bring you in here. There is a but here. Yes, he's raising a ton of money, but also I saw a poll in Reuters saying that 10% of registered Republicans are less inclined now to vote for him. 25% of independents indicating they might be less inclined to vote for him. Now, it's the first poll really that's shown that, but if that starts to be a trend and that is the effect of this conviction, that's going to be a problem for Trump.
Yeah, I think there's a much bigger problem at play right now, Piers, and I'd really like to clear the table here as we have this conversation, because we need to actually talk about what's happening, because what's happening here is not normal in America, not in this country. In this country, we don't have a tradition of locking up the leading political candidate 5 months before the election, no matter who that candidate is or no matter what party they're part of. Not if you're a Republican, not if you're a Democrat, not if you're Green Party or Libertarian. Doesn't matter. That's not part of our tradition. That's not normal. We need to establish that. There is a tradition, however, that my fellow panelists may be part of, and that's called being a Stalinist. If you like this kind of thing, you're a Stalinist. You're a show me the man, I'll show you the crime kind of sycophant, psychotic, dictatorial tyrant. And this is the type of nature that has overtaken what used to be called the Democratic Party. Alan Dershowitz is part of it. This is Stalinism. Say it and mean it. And there's some bravery to actually admitting that you're a Stalinist. Hold on. There's bravery to admitting that you're a Stalinist because you're evil. You're an evil person.
This is your argument?
Right?
Great job. If this is your argument, you're really going to win, buddy.
Hold on. You don't care about what's true. You just care about maintaining power. And that's, I mean, it's a brave thing to admit that. I think it's morally repugnant. I think most people believe that. But you would be the same type of person who'd be celebrating in the street when Nelson Mandela got locked up. You're the same person who'd be applauding when they put Gandhi in prison. You're the same person who would be proud that MLK went to jail 27 different times.
Minor drug offenders. You're from the party that prosecutes.
Hold on.
Okay, let Benny finish, then I'll bring you in a minute.
As long as I will not interrupt you, do not interrupt me. As long as the person stands against your power, you are the kind of succubus, sycophants for power, simps for power, who always coddle the Stalinist mantra, do anything, lock up anyone, and you'd be gathering firewood for Joan of Arc bonfires.
Okay, Benny, I have one more question for you, Benny, before I get into Mickey. It's this. I remember Donald Trump leading chants of lock her up about Hillary Clinton. Does that make him a Stalinist?
So did that happen, is the question?
Yeah, he would be at rallies.
Yes.
He'd be at rallies and say, hang on.
Finger on Hillary.
My turn to say, hang on. My turn to say, hang on. My turn to say, hang on.
I love you, buddy. But we have free speech in this country.
Video footage.
There's a lot of nasty things that have been said about, there's a lot of nasty things that Hillary said about Trump. Trump said about Hillary. Let's look at actions. I'm old enough now that I just don't care about your words. I care about your actions. The actions of a major political movement in the country right now is to lock up the leading candidate for president 5 months before an election. He's 77 years old, Piers. He's been around for a long time. He's never faced a criminal charge. Never been found guilty of anything in 77 years of public life.
I've got to jump in.
And now they lock him up. That's called Stalinism.
Benny, I don't disagree with you, but I do want to play a clip because Trump has denied ever saying lock her up about Hillary. Here's a clip.
Crooked Hillary, anyway. Crooked, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
For what she's done, they should lock her up.
Lock her up is right.
Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Now, by your yardstick, Benny, by your yardstick, that makes him leading Stalinist, doesn't it?
No, because I judge a man. I'm judge a man by his actions. Like, did he act on that? Did Donald Trump lay a finger on Hillary Clinton? Did anyone direct any special counsel to ever look into Hillary Clinton?
He certainly expressed a desire to.
Sure, that's called freedom of speech. This is called playing politics. A lot of people say a lot of things in politics. Joe Biden just explained that his uncle was eaten by cannibals.
Okay. I do want to bring in.
A lot of people say a lot of things. That's called freedom of speech.
I want to bring in Namiki, but let me go to Alan quickly. You want to say something, Alan?
There was a special counsel on Hillary Clinton. The Whitewater Council was directed against Hillary Clinton. And yes, there were many actions taken against Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. Don't overuse term Stalinist. Reserve that term for people who really want to put people in the gulag, want to execute them. Don't become a Stalinist denier, like a Holocaust denier. What Stalin did was worse. I'm not on the side of trying to get Trump, but I would never call them Stalin based on that action alone.
Okay, let me bring in Namiki. You've been waiting very patiently. A lot of facial expressions from you suggesting you don't think this is a reasonable argument. Do you feel comfortable about the fact that that any American president, but happens to be Trump, becomes the first one to be dragged through a criminal court on something so comparatively trivial? Had it been one of the other three cases, I think there wouldn't have been such a furore about it, but they chose the most trivial one. They upgraded a real misdemeanor offense to a felony so they could basically try and nail him. Do you feel comfortable that the legal system's being weaponized in that way?
Well, I think what's interesting about this case is it's not just that it was a misdemeanor, a traditional misdemeanor for falsifying documents. It's that it was falsifying documents in relation to an election. And so just like they're going after people for sending out robocalls that were AI saying a different election date or different vote for a different candidate or whatever, that's interfering with an election. And that is a very serious crime, especially when you're running for the president of the free world. Now, if we want to talk about weaponization of the legal system, Mr. Dershowitz, hang on a second. We want to talk about, weaponization of the legal system. Just this week, you have Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller, Lara Loomer saying, we should be going after everybody and giving them the death sentence. Steve Bannon saying Republicans should be using every single option on the table to investigate, to subpoena, to go after Democrats or anybody who stands in the way of Donald Trump.
But that's my point, Namiki, because of course they're going to. And once one party does this, the other party will now spend all its time, effort, and money trying to return the favor. And the loser actually is America and is standing in the world, and the American people who have elected these people to do a job for them, and all they're trying to do is get each other put in prison. I think it's damaging to America.
I agree with you. I think it's damaging to America that Donald Trump has been on a mission to deconstruct any sort of institutions that keep our democracy alive. I think it's damaging to America that he played these games and he was giving money back and forth to different lawyers and different folks and paying off folks to do his dirty work. It's damaging to America that he does not respect the institution and the system that gets people elected. So yes, are Democrats supposed to sit back and let him play games with our democratic institutions? Of course not. He wants to dismantle NATO.
You're wrong.
Alan?
You're wrong about what he was convicted of. If the judge had instructed, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to convict him, you have to conclude beyond reasonable doubt that he intended to impact the election. You would be right, but he didn't do that. He gave them multiple choice. He said, well, maybe he did that in order to save on taxes. Maybe he did that for this reason, that reason. We multiple choice. We don't know that this is an election case. The
Well,
judge
that will be brought up at appeals, and that is the one argument that the Trump team is going to put forward, and it may impact sentencing, as you mentioned. But that does not mean that it is a winning argument. Great argument, the one argument he has. But again, we're looking for loopholes in something that appears on the surface very dark. He did, no matter what. He did this, and that does not look good to the American people. It might chin up his base. Hang on, Benny. It might chin up his base. I gave you guys time. Let me just say one thing. It might chin up his base, and his base is dangerous, but they were always going to be ginned up. It's that portion of America, these little margins that we're winning by now, that feels like this is a disgusting action, whether it's one case, two cases, three cases. That jury found 34 counts him guilty, and that jury had lawyers on it, people who voted for Trump. So clearly, they made a strong case, Mr. Dershowitz. You cannot deny that.
No, I can deny that, and I will deny it. Let me give you another argument. So the prosecution argued that it was, as a matter of fact, an illegal campaign contribution. As a matter of fact, they had a witness, Trump, who is the FEC expert, who said, I will testify as a matter of fact that it was not a campaign violation. And it's done all the time. That nobody has ever been prosecuted for it. It was perfectly legal. And the judge kept that out. The judge denied the jury the right to hear from the expert that it wasn't an illegal campaign contribution because the prosecution argued, yes, as a matter of fact, it was. That's clear reversible error. If we had another 2 hours, I could go down 30 reversible errors. I've never seen a case.
Well, maybe you should work for Trump again. He needs your help. He has an appeal coming up. These are great arguments back, but it didn't hold up last week. And that's the point.
Let's agree to have the appeal decided before the election, and then I'll shut up.
You know what? I think actually, let me bring in. All right, let me bring in David. Let me bring in David. I do think that's an interesting point that's been raised by various members of the panel. Is that actually wouldn't it be fair to have that appeal before the election?
Yes. Yes.
I think it'd be completely fair. I would have no problem with that. I'd love to have it all wrapped up. It seems unlikely that that's going to happen, and I have very little control over it. Me saying I would like me agreeing to it really does nothing. What I do think is interesting is that there's so much moving of the goalposts here in every case. Your other guest here, Mr. Johnson, whose work I'm not as familiar with as I would like to be, but he seems extremely high energy. He comes out shot out of a cannon saying Stalinist this and that, and nobody else was saying lock up. And then you play the montage of here's 6 times Trump said it, and he goes, well, he didn't act on it all of a sudden. He changes his own argument, as they always do in every single one of these cases. Whatever they can get away with, you give them a piece of tape, Piers, and then they go, oh, but my argument's actually something different. That's the sort of fundamental nature of this, and it's pathetic.
All right, Benny, I want to play you a clip. Benny, before you reply, I'll play you a clip of Kamala Harris on Jimmy Kimmel last night.
Let's think about this. A jury of 12 people, peers, over the course of 6 weeks, deliberated on the evidence and facts and unanimously determined guilt for 34 felony counts. There was a defense attorney who actively participated in selecting that jury, who actively made decisions about witnesses to call, witnesses to cross-examine, and the jury made their decision. And, you know, I think that the reality is cheaters don't like getting caught. And being held accountable.
Benny, your reaction to that?
No, I don't know if Kamala Harris is talking about her personal life there and her history, her long history in the California political system. Cheaters don't like getting caught. She would definitely know how to rig a jury, considering what she did as a California attorney general. But I'll say this when it comes to cheating, and it's very interesting. She says, cheaters don't like getting caught. So here's my question to my fellow panelists here, and I ask it respectfully, and I hope that we don't interrupt each other. I love the vibrant conversation and debate on this program. Was Joe Biden cheating or engaging in interfering in an election when he sicked the current Secretary of State, his name's Antony Blinken, on rounding up members of the intel community to declare that his son's laptop, which is 100% real and holds within it at least 400 federal crimes, was actually fake and Russian disinformation. Now, that happened right before an election. Far closer to an election.
Right.
Let's just start off with he wasn't the president.
And most importantly,
I'm not even gonna get
and
to
Donald
your
Trump wasn't a
argument.
president. Please let me finish. Donald Trump wasn't a president when allegedly this payment happened.
You're right. He was cheating. Joe cheated. You're right. So
is Joe Biden cheating? So because yesterday, just really quick, because something remarkable happened in Delaware. The federal government introduced Hunter Biden's laptop against him as a piece of evidence that they have confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt is Hunter Biden's. So Joe Biden knew he was
they're
lying.
treating both sides equally. That is the point. You're saying that he's a victim, Donald Trump's the victim, and they don't go after the Democrats. But now you gave yourself an example of how the federal government, the justice system under Joe Biden, is going after.
So should Joe Biden be charged? Should Joe Biden be charged for the same thing?
It was his son. That's the
guy who did it is Secretary of State right now. The guy who organized the Russian disinformation letter is the Secretary of State. The people who signed that letter, there have been zero consequences. They knew they were lying to the American people. They were rigging an election.
But can you admit that now they're going after both sides equally? You said just a few minutes ago, oh, Donald Trump, the Republicans, they're always being prosecuted. They're Stalinists. But here's an example of the Biden justice system going after his own son. Can you admit that this justice system is treating both sides equally?
Not so clear. Not so clear. They're trying him in Delaware, where he has all the tremendous advantages, and they tried Trump in New York, where he had all the disadvantages. We'll see what the outcome of the case is.